NFL week number 1 on the horizon. College football week number 1 after a 5-day consecutive glorious stretch of college football each and every day has come to a close. A new AP poll out at noon Eastern time on this Tuesday. That will be very intriguing to see. Florida State, I would expect not in the top 25 any longer. DRS, we talked about the marquee matchups in our opening hour, recaps and reaction from week number 1. Some of the other notable scores from Saturday. Ohio State, a little slow to start against Akron, but they still win big, 52-6. Defense looks really good once again. A very intriguing score in Eugene inside Autzen Stadium. Oregon's Big Ten debut as a Big Ten program, I should say, against Idaho. The Ducks were nearly a 50-point home favorite. The Vandals, a strong FCS team, give Oregon all they can handle. It was a 3-point game early in the fourth quarter, but Oregon does survive, winning by 10, 24-14. Did that catch your attention on Saturday?
It did, because sometimes the numbers don't add up. Like, it was a 10-point win. Oregon, 31 first downs. Idaho, 10. Total yards, 217 for Idaho, 487 for Oregon. You say, oh, they probably turned it over 10 times. No, they even won the turnover battle, Oregon, 2-1 at that point. So that was an eye-opening number, because then you would point right away. Hold on. Like, if Gabriel goes 41 of 49 for 380, you figure that was one of those games where they're topping 60-plus points in it. That's why you're looking at these numbers. Now, maybe they didn't run the ball at all. They had a running back with 95 yards on 15 carries. Just an oddity overall as a game. I don't know what to make of it, but the statistics don't match up to that final score at all.
Yeah, they don't at all, because Dylan Gabriel threw for nearly 400 yards. As Donnie mentioned there, you look at some of the box score numbers, and it was hard to figure out why the Ducks were even in a competitive football game. They had multiple turnover on downs to end possessions. Their second offensive possession of the game, they drive down the field. They missed a field goal. A couple of opportunities where Oregon did not take advantage, and Idaho kept it competitive. Shout out to the Vandals. Outside of number 2, Ohio State, and number 3, Oregon, we had some dominant performances out of Texas against FBS foe Colorado State, who won 5 games a season ago, and many thought, including myself, that the offense would be there for the Rams. Braden Fowler, Nicolosi, and Torrey Horton, they got planked by the Longhorns. Alabama, oh boy, they rolled over Western Kentucky, a team under Tyson Helton that has won at least 8 games in all 4 full years under Helton for the Hilltoppers. They got shut out even with TJ Finley as their quarterback, a guy that started his career, or at least played at a stop at Auburn, had played Alabama twice, did nothing offensively against the Tide on Saturday in the first game of the Kalen DeBoer era. Following Nick Saban, the Crimson Tide looked darn good, 63-0. And Jackson Dart, the quarterback for Ole Miss, yes, against FCS foe in Furman, had 445 total yards in the opening half against the Paladins in Oxford on Saturday night. Ole Miss rolls 76-0.
Yeah, they had a lot of scrimmages here, week number 1, which I'm sure some teams like Florida State and LSU would have loved to have some of those scrimmage games at that point. But the one game that was interesting to me was Texas 52-0 over Colorado State. We heard a lot in the offseason about a couple players buying in at Colorado State, giving up hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not maybe $1 million to leave school, and they got absolutely hammered. But Quinn Ewers, 20 of 27. Arch Manning, 5 of 6, throws his touchdown pass here to start that season. And also on deck, as we're going to talk about, and quite frankly, rightfully so, Texas and Michigan lining up here during this week. So a lot of good stuff overall, a lot of anticipated scoring outcomes, and a lot of high scoring outcomes here that we're going over right now.
It is a big noon kickoff in the big house on Saturday, a top 10 tilt between Michigan and Texas. Line opened at 3.5 in favor of the Longhorns. It is now above a touchdown in favor of UT. Texas, a 7.5-point road favorite in Ann Arbor against the reigning national title winners in Michigan. 44.5 is that total. The Maize and Blue, a little bit leaky on Saturday night at home against a good Fresno State team, though, out of the Mountain West. 30-10 the final. The offense really for the Wolverines was the issue. Davis Warren came out of nowhere during fall camp to earn the starting job. And what a story it is for the former walk-on at Michigan, was diagnosed with leukemia in high school back in 2019, battled, beat the disease, even played in a high school football game just 7 months later, gets to Michigan, earns a scholarship under Jim Harbaugh, named the starter on Saturday night in Ann Arbor. He wasn't terrible. The offense just didn't really do all that much. Keep an eye on the running back room. Kalel Mullings might be the best back, even in favor of Donovan Edwards, and I would not be surprised to see the athlete at the quarterback spot, Alex Orji, potentially get the starting nod for week number 2 against Texas.
Yeah, interesting. But you see that final score, 30-10. Like, okay, they won easily by 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns, and they were favored by around that margin, so you can see it. But this game was a 6-point game in the fourth quarter. Yeah. You get that Saltway 86-yard interception return, which really made the score look much, much better. But this is a sign of the times here for Michigan. Michigan looks like they're back to that old Big Ten style football that opened up just a little bit under Harbaugh in the past couple of years. But you're not going to see Michigan with too many 45-14 victories. It looks like every one of these games by Michigan might even be played into the 20s here, and that's going to be fun to watch when they go up against Texas. Can you use that? We'll slow this game down, maybe not turn the football over and try to keep it close and win it in the fourth quarter if that works. Feels like it might be a referendum game on the national champions in week number 2 for them, which is crazy.
In DRS, there is a thought, of course. Michigan entered this year with a win total of only 8.5. The over had the juice. So much turnover, not only roster-wise, but in the coaching staff, and maybe most notably Connor Stallions, no longer there on Saturday night for the Maize and Blue. They were a 20.5-point favorite, and because of the pick six from maybe the best cornerback in college football, Will Johnson, they nearly covered the number. A total that was in the low 50s did stay under for the Maize and Blue against the Bulldogs. But again, it's a correlated thought, I would say, right? You look at the underdog covering a relatively large spread for a top 10 tilt, and the total staying under 44.5. The number on Saturday in Ann Arbor. If Michigan can keep it low scoring, probably their best shot of winning outright or covering that spread. Another Big Ten team making a statement on Saturday. 8th-ranked Penn State in a rivalry matchup against West Virginia, a West Virginia team that had a lot of optimism entering this year after 9 wins a season ago in Morgantown. The Nittany Lions going to Morgantown after a lengthy weather delay that happened around the halftime break for more than 2 hours. Penn State comes out and does not miss a beat. And again, I believe in the Penn State Nittany Lions making the college football playoff this year. Part of it, just the schedule. Secondly, the offense being so much better. And we saw that. Drew Aller looking really good through the air. Harrison Wallace III, really good as a downfield receiving threat for Penn State. And the ground game was great, and the defense does not miss a beat. Now under Tom Allen's tutelage as the new defensive coordinator. And Andy Kotelnicki, the new OC in State College, getting creative and looking good for Penn State on Saturday.
Penn State is such a wild place. The reason I say this is, like, they're the only team that will win every single game they're supposed to win and lose every single game they're not supposed to win. It's kind of crazy how it works out because you want this year to be different, but that's what we anticipated. You're more talented than West Virginia, pounded them 34-12, but we know with Penn State, they're going to win a lot of football games. They're just not going to win any big football games, and I think the same thing's going to be true this year, Ben. I don't care if the players change. As long as that coach is there, that's the MO. Absolutely destroy teams you're supposed to win, but never step up to the plate when you're ready to go.
The Nittany Lions did cover as a 7.5-point road favorite, still a total of 49 and a hook, staying under. They held West Virginia to less than 100 rushing yards for the Big 12's best rushing offense a season ago. And I don't know about the big games because they don't have Michigan on the docket, nor Oregon either in the Big Ten. The path is favorable to make it a very happy valley this year. We'll look at the title and Heisman odds next. Only 1 week, for some 2 games, but only 1 week through in this 2024 college football season. How have the odds moved in the chase for a national championship and those Heisman Trophy odds in some spots pretty considerably? Georgia rolls over Clemson as anticipated, and their price to win a national title shortens by 10 cents. Plus 280 becomes plus 270. The Bulldogs the favorite. Ohio State at plus 450. Texas and Oregon now tied for the third best number as the Ducks move back ever so slightly. Alabama up from a 14-1 number to 11-1. But, Donnie, the story really in two spots in my estimation. The Miami Hurricanes, 40-1 entering week one in the swamp, nearly slashed that in half, 22-1 now with that ninth best price. And again, when you look at these odds overall, LSU moves back after the loss, tied for the 10th best number alongside Michigan, who also moves back at 35-1. But 8 of the 10 best prices to win the title this year still hailing from either the Big Ten or the SEC.
Yeah, and we're going to get some jockeying for position, but also understanding that once you have some of these big battles, like you see, Michigan at 35-1 going to take on Texas at 7-1, the winner of that game is going to increase. The loser is going to fall back, but it's not all over yet because technically you still get to have that guaranteed one loss and still trying to make your way into that 12-team college football playoff. So I do think it's interesting there, but you are going to have those movers and shakers. Like, I guess you could say we expect, at least I did, right? I expected Georgia to handle Clemson easily. So I don't get any takeaway from that game going, wow, that, it really opened my eyes here. Georgia looks like they're going to be a good ball club. We knew they would be that. But bringing back into Miami, I think of the top, like Penn State, Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oregon, Texas, Ohio State, and Georgia ahead of them. Like Miami was really that eye-opener saying like, oh, wow, maybe we should be buying into a little bit of, but the one thing we don't know is this wasn't a Florida team, number 5 in the country in the swamp that Miami went in there and whipped them. Now, granted, the toughest schedule we might see in the history of college football just might be the Gators this year. And, they might win 5 games or less. You don't want to take anything away from Miami, but as I just told you, weeks 1 to week 2, so many change over. Now, Miami's going to play Florida A&M this weekend and should roll them easily, but it's kind of interesting as the fandom I am having here with Miami and watching with my eyes. I really liked what I see because we know as well as anything, if you have a quarterback that can make plays with his feet and looks cool and calm under pressure in heightened environments, you got yourself something. So that was a big win for Miami, but we're still trying to gauge it on how high they jumped at the FanDuel Sportsbook as opposed to what maybe they really should have jumped. Because I don't think anybody watched that game like, you know what? I like Miami's win, but I don't think they have what it takes to get in the college football playoff. Like, no, it looks like they probably made the college football playoff just on that Florida win from a team with Florida that's 4.5 as a team total on the season here. So I want to take a step back, but I did like what I saw out of Florida, but they certainly deserve to be the highest movers, Ben, of the week.
And it's not just the Canes moving up based on their result. It's everything that is happening around them in their own conference. Florida State, the preseason favorite, now 0-2 to start this year, but also 0-2 against ACC competition. The Noles now 42-1 to win the conference. They still have an opportunity to do so. They can't lose again and have to play Miami in terms of getting into that ACC title game. We would assume with 2 conference losses, but there is a very, very small margin of error for Florida State. The Canes, Donnie, now the favorites to win the ACC at plus 170. Clemson's loss against Georgia was not a conference loss, but there was a couple of other things that happened week 1. Western Carolina testing NC State. The Wolfpack have a game this weekend in Charlotte, a top 25 tilt against Tennessee. The Vols also tied with LSU and Michigan at 35-1 to win a national championship. Virginia Tech got beaten outright on the road in Nashville by Vanderbilt as a 13.5-point favorite. They were expected to be a dark horse contender in the ACC. The conference does not look good except for Miami at this moment, and that is always painting the path. If Miami wins the ACC, more than likely it is the automatic berth into the college football playoff as one of the 5 highest-ranked conference champs around the country, and it's going to then be, more than likely, an opening round bye where Miami has positioned themselves to win a national championship. So there's Miami's team perspective. There's also the individual. After 385 yards and 3 touchdown tosses in his Miami debut, Cam Ward is now a co-favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Dylan Gabriel's number's not bad. The result, not good for Oregon, plus 850 for Gabriel. Jackson Dart put on a performance. We've got 3 co-favorites now atop the board, DRS, following only 1 full weekend of action, all at a plus 850 number.
It's great, and I love to see it here because you can take a look at some of these guys and make arguments for and against all the way through. But the one thing, Ben, we always have to remind ourselves of, you're not betting this as opposed to saying who's going to win the national championship, because we're not even watching the college football playoff before voting there for the Heisman Trophy. That's already settled and done. Correct. Before we get to that point in the season. So when you look at Miami's schedule, if it's a little bit leaky where it's like, hey, you know what? They don't play that great of football teams and maybe have a massive downgrade on Clemson and Florida State. If Cam Ward looks great all the way through, who cares if he flames out in round number 1 in the college football playoff? That's already a done deal, and the Heisman Trophy has been voted on. So I agree with this. We are going to see teams, and again, individual performances, and also the extra bump spend. How many times in the past you look at a Heisman Trophy winner? Like last year was sort of an anomaly to me, but it's usually the best player on the best teams, and if their team gets knocked off, Ben, what happens? You take a drop down in the standings. But let's just say Oregon takes a loss to Ohio State, or, Ole Miss gets beat by, Alabama on their schedule. They're still going to be in it in the college football playoff, and you're still going to get those Heisman moments in meaningful football games, as opposed to, that would have been nice. They had 2 losses. He should have stepped up and played a little bit better early in the season, when it might not be his fault. Maybe the defense was the issue in them not winning that football game. This is going to be an awesome watch for the Heisman, something we haven't seen. Why? Because more meaningful football games are going to be played later in the season to keep these guys involved in that Heisman race.
Very well said. The national conversation, not only program but individual-led, deeper into November. Carson Beck at a 9-1 number, second best price entering the year, still at 278 and 2 tuds against Clemson. Jalen Milroe threw the ball 9 times, had more than 200 yards and multiple touchdown tosses. Also ran for more than 70 on the ground against WKU and 2 scores. Nico Iamaleava, a good start as Tennessee starter, and a big matchup this weekend against NC State. Miller Moss moves up to a 22-1 number.